Welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I'll be covering every studio song the band has recorded and every bonus track that I can find. Each week we'll go over a new song from the beginning to where they are currently, and as they keep adding albums, I'll keep adding shows. Let the deep dive party begin.
In the magic garden, some were singing, some were dancing.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I am your host, Scott Haskin, and I've got a little bit of a mystery on this song because today we're covering Mr. Majestic, a demo track that appears on the Raging Silence Deluxe Edition CD. But here's where it gets weird. Now, this song was recorded at the Sea of Light sessions. That's 2 albums away. So it was released as the B-side to the Dream On CD single in 1995. But why is it on this deluxe DVD? It's been a day. This deluxe CD, right? Because it wasn't even recorded in these sessions. So it's a little weird that they put it here when it wasn't even done until 2 albums from now. That's the bit of the mystery for me. Don't know why that's the case, but it is, and we're going to review it. Doesn't really matter what album it shows up on. We're going to go over it anyway, and I'm looking forward to doing that. I hope you guys are having a great day and ready to dig into some great rock and roll. Here is Mr. Majestic.
Mr. Majestic fires a gun. Mr. Majestic, he got a lie on his tongue. You can't help but listen, he got away with words. Don't ask useless questions unless you want to leave this world.
All right, let's start with the opening. It's really gentle. It's kind of warm, still has a little bit of that Asian feel to me, just by way of the sound, not the style of the music, but the particular sounds that we're hearing. But it's really nice. It's light and airy. Definitely something that could be played in a lot of different places. I kind of feel like that would be nice music for an art museum. You know, maybe not so much the lyrics, but just as far as like the musical content, I think could be really nice in like an art museum or, a lot of different applications for it. Certainly movies or television. It's just got a really nice feel to it. The lyric delivery that we're hearing, this is pretty incredible. At first, the association that I made in the first line was thinking about a singer like Bon Jovi. Now, this isn't a matter of whether you like Bon Jovi or dislike Bon Jovi, but this style of singing, this gentle singing with some edge, some gruffness in the voice that just adds a layer of not believability, but almost more like intrigue, like what's going on in this story? What's really happening here? It's intriguing. It's a great sound. I love a little bit of grit in a good rock voice. And Bernie's certainly delivering it here. And the combination of Bernie and Phil, what they're doing here is really, really just unexpected. You wouldn't think that these kind of stories would have necessarily such a gentle atmosphere to start them off, but they do it very well, I think.
Madam Odessa carries a knife across to the jailhouse in her pretty style. She ain't looking out for business, she got away with words. She's gonna take that man for what he done to her.
Man, I love this reverb on Bernie's voice. It sounds fantastic. You can almost hear it slapping back against the wall behind him. Sounds really thick to the reverb itself. Really love that. I love what the keyboards are playing. That last passage kind of seemed a little more islandish than Asian to me, but it's definitely intriguing. I'm not sure exactly what to feel because it feels very much in contrast. I mean, you have these lovely, beautiful keyboards playing, and you have these stories about what these horrible people are doing, and it's a really interesting contrast.
This was how the West was won, lawless and unruly. Now I guess what's done is done.
Well, that was a beautifully sustained note with just a little bit of vibrato there from Bernie. Absolutely fantastic. I really enjoyed the transition here. You know, it's a nice surprise. You know, the band's going to kick in probably at some point, unless it's just a really different song for the band. But you know, the band's going to kick in somewhere, and that was a very nice transition to make that happen. The drums sound nice and powerful. But yeah, that was a really interesting bit right there. I like it. It almost feels empowering, you know, like an empowering melody. I guess you would call it a melody if it's on keyboard and a riff for on guitar. But we've got a little bit of that returning 80s synth brass sound here. But there's just something about the progression, something about the notes that kind of makes me feel like we're on the way to victory. And it's really contrary, right, to what we've heard in the lyrics so far, because this has just, you know, so far been about these people. But I kind of feel like this could have been, a Rocky montage. That's what I was looking for earlier. You know, every 5 minutes they had a Rocky montage that was longer than the last piece of actual storyline they had. And they had some really cool music. And I'm thinking of, it was probably Rocky 4 that was a little bit more synthesizer, because Bill Conti did the score for the first two. And in fact, I have a friend that was there when that was being recorded, and he told me some interesting things about that. But in any case, yeah, so it really could have fit into like a Rocky montage there. It's empowering. It's uplifting. It has a really good feel to it, a great vibe. I'm just curious how this feeling will play with the story. Now, of course, this may not have been the intention. This is just my interpretation, what the music makes me feel. It might make someone else feel, you know, angry or dark or melancholy or happy or, you know, what have you. That's the beauty of music, is that we all feel it the way that we do. I can only tell you that for me, this passage is kind of like, it just makes me want to get out of my chair and exercise or something. I'm not going to do that, by the way. Yeah, so this is pretty cool. It's a good solid beat, and we've got some great 8 notes on the bass. You know, it's not playing all over, as we often hear with Uriah Heep, but sometimes you just need to support the story. You know, you don't need to be doing all kinds of crazy things. You just need to give it that low end and leave the room for the vocalists to do their thing. And I think that's what's happening here, and it's done very nicely. Then halfway through, we get some sounds coming through from Mick. Now, these are really far in the background. And I can't exactly make out what he's doing. It sounds like he's doing some picking on a clean tone, maybe with some reverb on it. But whatever it is, it's kind of blending together and sounds really interesting. It's adding a really nice texture to the overall song. I think that was a great use of the backing vocals. You know, they came through really nice. They didn't overpower the lead vocal, and they were subtle. They were used minimally, but enough to add another level, a depth to the words and the story. Very nice. And it's nice to see that high registers come back too. Okay, so this time that picking is coming in right at the beginning. It's slightly to the left in my headphones, but I can hear it a little bit better now. It's a little bit louder on this verse, and it sounds like there might be a slight flange or phaser on it as well as that reverb, but that picking is really nice, just the way that it's all blending into one sound. Like you hear the pick of the string, and then it just falls into this sea of tone that's coming from Mick. And then over in the right ear now, there's another rhythm guitar track that's just giving it a bit of a crunch, not too much, but just a little bit, and just kind of following along with the bass, really. But it adds, again, another level in the build of the song. Okay, so they either added more voices to the backing singers or they just turned it up in the mix. Which one, I'm not sure. It did sound louder to me, and now it's kind of drowning out the lead vocal on those lines. Backing vocals are really designed to enhance what the lead singer is doing in a case like this and not overpower it, but we've heard that a lot on the last couple of albums. I'm not a fan of that mixing strategy myself. It might work well for other people, but I think that it should be more supported underneath, like putting a nice, comfortable blanket underneath the singer and not just, covering their head with it. And this is getting to that point again where they're, being louder than the lead vocal. So I don't like that in particular, but I like what they're doing here. I like the sound of it. I don't mind it being a little thicker if they added extra voices. I think that's okay, but they needed to turn it down a little bit. But the sound between the backing vocals at that pitch in that, higher register, along with Bernie's vocals, that combination is really good. I really like that. I hope there's more of that to come. All right, man, that was so hot I had to turn the fan on. Of course, the fan's on anyway when I'm not speaking into the mic because it's 111 degrees outside, and that's a little too much, And I'm recording this a little early, so when you look at your calendar and go, why is it 100 and whatever outside? It's because I recorded this in advance. Now, I have to apologize because I forgot. I got so into listening to the song that I forgot this was a demo version. The mix was so good on it that I was just thinking that this was part of the album for some reason. So I apologize to everyone that got hurt by my statements that there were issues with the mix, because you don't expect it to be perfect. But I would say it sounds damn good for a demo version, that's for sure. Now, I really like the ending section there. From the solo on, the chorus didn't come back like I thought it would. It was just the inflections of some of the words. That was nice. The backing vocals were dialed back down to where they should be, maybe even slightly too quiet. But that blend again between Bernie and the backing track is really fantastic, and it works here well. But I'm glad they turned that backing track down a little bit for the rest of the song. But yeah, it was a good mix for a demo, I have to say. Probably the best mix on a demo we've heard throughout the podcast. And we're creeping up on 200 songs I think that we've done. So yeah, it's getting there. But I like it. I think it's a good song. I still don't understand why it was included on this particular deluxe CD instead of the one that it came from. I don't know, maybe they looked ahead and said they didn't have enough room, but they didn't want to not include it. So they threw it here where they had a little more room. That happens sometimes. But at least they were upfront about it and said, hey, here's the album it comes from. So there just wasn't anything I found in the way of justification of that. But that being the case, it doesn't matter because it's a great song. We were going to review it either now or later anyway. So might as well just do it now. And I'm glad we did because that's a very empowering song. Despite the lyrics and the kind of sad story that we're telling, I think the music itself is pretty uplifting. And I find that, as the song went on, I found that more and more interesting as a concept to just have something that was completely that contrary to one another. But a cool concept, great voice from Bernie, some of Phil's great writing on keyboards there. I really love the tones he selected, the feel he created there. The guitar tracks were nice. Drums and bass were just rock solid on this. Didn't need to be anything crazy or outstanding. Just did a great job. And, another great song from Uriah Heep. So we'll be back in the next episode with our final track from Raging Silence. Take care, guys. Cheers. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. If you have enjoyed this show, please consider going over to Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast outlet, leaving a rating or a review. Be sure to subscribe to make sure that you are notified when new episodes are available. Please be sure to share this podcast with your fellow Uriah Heep enthusiasts and anyone who you think would like Uriah Heep, which should be everyone. And if you are so inclined, please feel free to contribute to the Patreon account. And if you are not a Patreon subscriber, you can also pay through the PayPal link on the website listed in the show links below. I would also like to thank Uriah Heep for their very generous support of the show, and thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Happy days!